If you've been wanting to get into timeline healing, past life regression, soul retrievals, but you feel like something might be holding you back, but you're not exactly sure what that is, I'm going to share a client session that I had earlier where I spoke with one of her inner children and figured out where those blockages in the energetic cords were coming from, cleared them out for her to be able to go ahead and get into those modalities. You're going to want to save this post so you can listen again in the future. This is an energetic transmission, not only for you, but all of your inner children. And remember to give a follow to join the community. When I went to her energy field, I was met with her 5-year-old, and both of us were looking at a carousel. You know, the ones with the animals and they go up and down and the whole ride goes in a circle. I'm holding her hand and I asked, would you like to get on? And she got really scared because it was dark. And I said, oh, that's okay, watch. And I flipped a light switch on, and so it was really bright, like daytime around us. She looked at the carousel and said, oh, it's so beautiful. It was all glittery and sparkly. The carousel was like white and it had pink trim on it, very girly, very cutesy. And I asked, why were you scared of being in the dark earlier? And she said, well, I couldn't see. And I said, we could see the carousel just fine. So I don't think that's what it is. What else could it be? And she said, well, what if something happened to me? And I looked at her and I said, do you think I would let something happen to you? And she said no. I asked, would it be okay if we go back where it was with the lights off and dark? I mean, the carousel was like illuminated, obviously, like a carousel would be. But it was like dark in the environment. And she said yes, after I assured her, like, hey, I'm going to be here with you. You know how they have the rides with the animals that go up and down, but then there's also the benches that you can sit on? So her and I sat on one together, and as we were going around, all of the different animals started having ghosts appear on them. Okay, spirits. This is when she started getting a little nervous. I said, hey, they want to enjoy the ride just as much as you do. And she was asking how come we could see them in the dark, but then we couldn't see them in the light. And I said, watch this. And I turned the environment lights back on, and then everyone disappeared, all of the spirits. And I said, because they're translucent, they're see-through. And this is supposed to be symbolic of when we are about to fall asleep, our brain waves go into theta state and our subconscious opens, and it's much easier to perceive through the veil because we are in a relaxed state of being, and we don't also have so much stimuli coming in. You have clear channels. This is why people most often see or experience spirits at nighttime. This is when I found the correlation between her having blockages with being a timeline reader because her inner children were perceiving different timelines, past lives, or even working with people's inner children, because technically those are different timelines as well, as ghosties. She was scared of them, kind of perceiving that they were going to haunt her or hurt her in some type of capacity. So after I worked that out with her of like, hey, they're just enjoying the ride too. We're all having a good time together. I said, do you want to see the rest of the amusement park that we were at? Because at that time we could only kind of see the carousel that we were on. And she said yes. And so we started walking, and it was really funny because the town, it wasn't a town, you know, like westerns and like movies where you walk down like the main street and then there's all these shops and bars, like saloons. We were in a Western style amusement park, kind of like Dolly World, if you have ever been there. This is when we noticed a lot of ghosties, spirits that were walking around. They were just people. And I said, look, they're enjoying the amusement park just like we are. This is when we saw a little girl who was about 5 years old as well, walking around, and my client's inner child, it piqued her interest. She was like, ooh, like another little girl. I said, do you want to go say hi? And she said, yes. And so we walked over, and I said, what's your name? And she told us her name. And I said, why don't you ask her, talking to my client's inner child, why she is here in this park with us as a spirit, a ghostie. So when she did, the little girl said, I passed away when I was younger, and I didn't really get to have the fulfilled life that I wanted, and part of that included having friendships. And so my client's inner child said, do you want to be my friend? And the little girl said yes, and they like grabbed hands. And I gave them some cotton candy to eat as well, and asked them if they wanted to go ride on the amusement park rides together. And they're like, yeah. This is when I asked my client's inner child, are you still scared about these spirits? And she said, no, they're just like me. And the overall message in medicine here is, oftentimes our inner children are nervous about going into the ethers and the astral because of societal programming in movies and TV shows that showcase that spooky, scary things happen in the dark. Couple that with our DNA and ancestral generational trauma things, our body says, hey, we can't really perceive well in the dark. And so it's not safe to be here. But that's not necessarily accurate of the etheric and astral planes. It's very beneficial to start out in the light when you are traveling, if you have those fears within your system. Even if your inner children aren't with you necessarily on those travels, like, please start somewhere that is fun and magical and whimsical. I was telling her that the ghosties and the spirits that we were perceiving on the carousel, yes, it is easier to perceive them at nighttime because of the subconscious thing, but you can also see them during the daytime on your etheric astral travels. Like when I turn that light on, environmental light, so you can ask them to wear clothes or make their energy denser so they appear more human-like instead of spirit-like. What's really interesting is that my client said that when she was a little girl that her dad took her to a carousel-like ride and she was super nervous because it was dark outside. And then she was still scared even when her dad got on the ride with her. And I was like, oh, that's why that imagery came up for your inner child. And then I found a correlation with her. She told me that when she was 5 years old, specifically, that that she had seen a ghost in her room, a spirit. She told her mom about it. The mom came in and got some hairspray and started spraying it in the room, and it was called Monster Be Gone. You know, obviously she named it that, but Monster Be Gone spray, and said the ghosts are gone. And then she stopped perceiving with her mediumship abilities after that. It closed down her psychic lenses. And I said, oh, of course, you saw a ghost. Your mom called it a monster. And then you shut everything down afterwards out of a safety trauma response. I said, even though timelines are spirits, okay, they're still people. Even if they're from a different time and space in the ethers, they're just like you and me. Some inner children are a little bit more concerned with cosmic beings that look very different from us, but then you have things like this have occurred where they're even scared of humans. Okay, in ghosty ethereal form. So that is how we brought healing to her inner children so she can move forward with her spiritual gifts. So I would love to hear in the comments if this message resonated with you, if these are things that you have been working through as well to become a timeline healer. If you would like to strengthen your gifts and abilities or figure out where there might be energetic blocks so you can create forward movement as well, I do offer coaching sessions. You can find those in my bio, in the comments. Oh, it's 333 on my phone. And I'm wishing you a very magical day.